With no further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Reed Wilson. Reed is the President and CEO of PTG, and I'll go ahead and turn things over to him so he can get started on the presentation and the demo.
Well, thanks so much, Lisa. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon where you are. It looks like we've got folks spread out from all over the U.S. and all over the world, so excited to have you here. As Lisa said, my name's Reed Wilson. I'm with Palmetto Technology Group, President and CEO, and we're really excited about the opportunity to get you guys going in a live demo of Office 365. Before we get started, everybody's probably most interested in how does it cost and how much longer until we can see the actual product. So everything that you're going to see here today on our live demo is going to be available to you for as little as $6 per user per month, which is a really great value. We've only got a couple of slides that we're going to go through. The vast majority of this is going to be how we use the product inside our business every single day. What we're actually going to show you is how we use Office 365 inside of our small business. Now, granted, it's not going to be data that would be available, or our customers' data, but we are going to show you exactly how we use it inside our business to kind of get you a good feeling for the ease of use and how the product works. A little bit about us. We're an IT solutions provider based in Greenville, South Carolina. We're an Office 365 partner, a Cloud Accelerate partner, and also known as a Microsoft Cloud Champion. We've got customers all over the world, not just here in South Carolina, but we've got customers in Asia, in Europe, and we also have folks all over North America. So the great thing about the cloud and the beauty of the cloud is that it works anywhere you are. If you want to learn a little bit more about us, you can visit us at www.office365migrations.com, palmettotg.com, or you can follow us on Twitter. At the end of this session, we're going to go through a couple of different options that we've got and some things that we can help you with around Office 365. So stay with me. We're going to hop right into the demo. So a little bit about me. What I want to get across as part of this demo is that ultimately I'm the same as most of the folks that are on this call. I'm a small business owner. I've got a wife. I've got a daughter. I've got a beautiful dog that I love too. And ultimately, as a small business owner, we've got to balance all the responsibilities of not only our business, but also the other responsibilities that we have day to day, right? Our social responsibilities, family responsibilities, civic responsibilities, and also our work. And one of the benefits of a cloud-based solution is that it allows us to work however we choose to work and whenever we choose to work. And that's ultimately how we use Office 365 inside our business every day. So I just wanted to set that as a baseline, that ultimately we are you. So what are we seeing in IT and in small business today? Well, it's interesting. 11% of all workers today are using social networking for work. What does that mean? It means that the lines between work and play are blurring every single day. If you look at the cost of IT, it seems like it gets more and more complex and more costly, right? And so often as a small business owner or as a mid-sized business owner, we have a struggle of how are we going to manage and balance the cost of our day-to-day IT budgets. We have a multi-generational workforce. We've got that inside our business. We've got folks that have been in the workforce for just a couple of years and folks that have been in the workforce for years and years. And ultimately, they want to be able to work, exactly the way they want to work and exactly the way they've always worked, right? So multi-generational folks. We've got folks here that want to be able to work on a browser. They want to be able to work on a slate. But we've also got folks that want to be able to traditionally work in the way that they always have, right? Using Office, using the traditional desktop. So we've got that challenge that we've got to face. We've got more and more folks that are mobile. I think this number is probably a little skewed. It's probably much higher than that. If you think about it, we're all carrying a mobile device. We're all working from home. So whether or not you even come into an office every day or you work out of your house, chances are you're working remote more and more. And ultimately, we're seeing the rise of the cloud. You can't help but turn on the TV or turn on the news or even get on the internet and not see some kind of new thing that's happening with the cloud. So let's talk about Office 365. You know, when we think about the future of productivity, ultimately, like I said earlier, everybody wants to be able to work the way they've always worked. And unfortunately, with a lot of cloud-based solutions, we're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, right? Maybe the cloud technology is free, and because it's free, you got to work the way the vendor tells you to work. And one of the beautiful things about Office 365 is because it's so tightly integrated with the technology that you use every single day anyway, it allows you to work the way you've always worked. If we've got some mid-market and some enterprise folks on the call as well, it also allows you to bring your meld your on-premise environment, such as your on-premise Exchange server, with a cloud-based environment. So whether it's unified communications, collaboration, business intelligence, whatever it might be, the beauty of Office 365 is it works the way you work, not only from a business perspective, but also from an IT perspective. When we talk about Office 365, it's ultimately made up of 4 different unique technologies: the Office Professional Stack, the Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, and Lync Online. We're going to talk about each one of those as we roll through this demo. Before we get started, actually, and go a little bit further, let me mark myself as Do Not Disturb so I don't get any messages from my colleagues here. So Exchange Online. Everybody on the call is probably familiar with email, and a vast majority of you are probably using Exchange Online today or Exchange on-premise today, and you may not even know it. Ultimately, Exchange Online is more than just your email. It's also your calendar, your contacts, your tasks, and even the calendar, contacts, and tasks of those that you work with every single day. The beauty of Exchange Online is that because it's online, we don't have the typical cost and complexity that's associated with an on-premise Exchange environment. So now we can take that technology and make it available to a small or a mid-sized business. It allows for anywhere access. To me, this is huge. I don't want to travel with my laptop anymore. I just want to carry my slate, or I want to carry my mobile device. I can keep up with my email, my calendar, my contacts and tasks without having to be tied to or tethered to a laptop or a desktop. What does that mean? It means that if I delete an item from my inbox, if I delete an item from my inbox on my slate, by the time I get back to my office, it's not going to be in my mailbox anymore. It's actually going to show up in my deleted items. If I send an item from my slate, when I get back to the office, that item's going to show up in my sent items. More importantly, if I'm traveling and I want to work in a hotel kiosk, I can work wherever I am and still have access to my files. For those of you who have protection and compliance issues, such as HIPAA or maybe some financial requirements, Office 365 is fully compatible and fully supported in those kinds of environments. And ultimately, you retain your visibility and control. Most cloud-based solutions actually mean you have less control. But with Office 365 and with Exchange Online, you actually have availability inside your Exchange Online console to continue to do the day-to-day administration that you would do just as if it were on-site. SharePoint Online. This is the hub of our business. We're going to talk about what SharePoint Online means as we go deeper and deeper into the demo, but ultimately, we have a saying inside our business that if it's not in SharePoint, then it probably doesn't matter. This is where we keep all of our file shares, all of our customer documentation, and as a business owner, this is where I can get visibility into how well is my business performing. This is huge for me. At a snapshot view, I can get a dashboard view of how is my business performing, which is awesome. So if you're working in a traditional file folder structure today, you're really going to love SharePoint Online because it gives you access to your documents and your files no matter where you are. Lync Online. So we're actually conducting this meeting using Lync Online. It's an online presence, instant messaging, and collaboration suite that actually allows us to connect both internally and externally. You may not have seen it at the beginning of the demo, but I actually had a colleague from outside my organization that sent me a quick instant message before we started this presentation. We use this every day inside our business to make decisions faster and to know where our remote employees are and remote workers are. It's a phenomenal platform, and I don't know how I lived without it. The final component of Office 365 is the Office Professional Stack, or the Office Professional Product, I should say. What this is actually gives you the full Office download on your desktop. Most cloud-based technologies require you to use your word processor or your spreadsheet or even your presentation application in the cloud only. And ultimately with Office 365, not only can we work in the cloud, but we can also work on our desktops. And that's what I was referring to earlier when I said this application and this product really works the way you choose for it to work. Awesome. So and not only is it on a single desktop, you can actually deploy this across 5 desktops. Again, we understand that you may not always do your work at work. You may do your work at home. And as such, you need to be able to have access to the same tools and technologies and features that you use if you're in the office. So oftentimes folks don't understand the power of what that really means. So I want to let that sink in, that with the Office 365 suite, you can get full Office on the desktop, and you get it forever and ever as long as you're in a subscription model. So that means when the next version of Office comes out, you'll get that automatically. Mobility. I would bet that everybody on this call is carrying some type of mobile device with them. And when we think about Office 365, it's important to remember that all of our activities, all of our email, even SharePoint is available to us across our mobile devices. And you're not locked into a specific type of device. If you have an iPhone, a BlackBerry, a Nokia device, an Android, or a Windows phone, or even an iPad, you can get to your files, your documents, your email, calendars, and contacts just as if you were sitting right there at your desk. Office 365 also has the best productivity experience across all stacks. So we can work on a PC, we can work on a Mac, any type of mobile phone. More importantly, we're browser agnostic. So if you want to use Chrome, Safari, or Firefox, or obviously Internet Explorer, the product and the features will work across all 4 of those. So we're not locking you into a certain feature set. Obviously, you get the best productivity experience on the PC, but it's also available on the Mac. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these slides because ultimately we want to dig into the product, and everything that you're going to see here in the demo, or excuse me, everything you see here on the slide, you're actually going to see inside the demo. You also get the best productivity experience on the phone. Now, I, for one, use a Windows phone, and I love the fact that when I'm on the road with my Windows Phone 7, I have access to my documents just as much as if I were in the office. So what you see there actually is on your screen is what you would see if you were using a Windows phone, and you could view across you could view all of your documents inside SharePoint. Obviously, best productivity experience in the browser too. So again, not only do you have to use Office, but you can also, you see on the right-hand side of the screen there, we have the ability to view an Excel spreadsheet, not only in just Excel, but also in a browser. So again, if you're working on a mobile device, you've got the ability to view that spreadsheet, view last month's sales numbers, whatever the case may be, directly from inside the browser. Okay? So I think that's enough slides. Everybody's probably ready to get into how the product actually works. So now we're going to focus on our demo on how do we communicate with our team and with our partners, how do we keep everybody on the same page, how can we collaborate on a document, and how is my business performing. So the products that you see on the right are all the different features that we're going to be highlighting, but ultimately I want to take you through a workflow of how our business works. Okay? So let's dig into our live application now. Yeah. Okay? So right now I'm actually inside my Outlook window. I've got, and again, this is my live Exchange and live Outlook that I'm working in here. So what you see here is I've actually got a whole bunch of emails here. I say I've got 3 emails here about the sales proposal. I've got 10 emails about reviewing a document and 5 emails about my offsite leadership team meeting. So what's really nice about the new version of Outlook is the ability to thread our emails. So I'm going to expand this entire list here, and I can see, well, you see that number there says 10, but I actually have about 8 email messages there. So what Outlook allows us to do in the new version is it actually nests all of our mail and only shows us the mail that's most important to us. This is great because it only is going to allow me to view the things that are not duplicates. If you've ever been on an email chain that's lasted for hours and hours and days, you don't want to have to go through each and every one of those emails individually. Using the new conversation view in Outlook, we can actually just view the messages that are not repeats. But you know what? I don't really care about this document, so I'm going to ignore this entire conversation. I don't want to see that message anymore. So I'm going to ignore every message that comes in from that conversation from this point forward. Now you'll notice as well that I have about 948 items currently inside my email. I have a hard time managing my email, obviously. But actually with the new version of Outlook, I can clean up an entire folder. So I'm going to clean up my Outlook folder. And what it's going to do is take any items that might have been duplicates or things that weren't, or maybe they were threads that I had ignored, and I've taken my 948 items down to 914 items. This is phenomenal. It allows me to really get a true view of what my email inbox actually looks like. Okay? So a couple other little things that are inside Outlook that are important. You'll see down here on the right-hand side, we see who are the folks that we communicate with on a regular basis. This is actually the Lync client, which I'm going to open up for you now. Lync is our secure instant messaging application that allows us to contact and collaborate on documents and on files and even do online meetings with folks that are both inside and outside of our organization. So I can see here that a couple of my folks are green. That means they're available and I can communicate with them. I see some are red. I see Eric there is in a meeting, and some folks may be away. The great thing about this is if some of these folks might be working remotely, I can still see their availability just as if they were in the office right next to me. I could have an instant messaging session with them. It'll take me off of Do Not Disturb and go back to busy and send Andrew a quick message here. So now Andrew, wherever he is, whether it be on his PC, whether it be on his mobile device, or whether it be on his Mac, is now getting an instant message, and we can communicate. If I wanted to bring somebody else into that session as well, all I have to do is drag and drop them in, and now I've got David Cannon, who's a member of our team, also participating in this chat session. For us, this has really sped up our ability to make decisions quickly, collaborate quickly, and ultimately work faster and better no matter where we are. I'm going to go ahead and close that window down for those guys. But I think it's important to notice that throughout all of our Office applications, you're going to see what we call the jelly bean. Some green, some red. And this tells me whether or not that person is available for a chat session or a collaboration session. The really nice thing about that is it actually integrates in back with your Exchange calendar. So Lync is smart enough to know that I'm in a meeting, and it's set my status to busy. So now everybody that's available to me from a Lync perspective knows whether or not they can collaborate with me. So I'm going to tell these guys thanks. And if I wanted to, I could actually escalate this into a PC-to-PC call, a video session, or I could even share a document or a presentation. I'm going to drop them off this session now. Again, we're going to come back to Lync here in just a sec. When we think about the other areas that are important to us every day, it's our calendar, right? So here's the day for me for today, and I can also view into tomorrow, as well as my task, any task that I might be actively working on. I'm going to go ahead and minimize that so I can get the maximum amount of screen real estate. I also have my calendar, and what's great about my calendar is that, again, it's going to be available to me no matter where I am, whether it be my Outlook client or my mobile device. Not only do I have access to my calendar, but I also have access to my team's calendar. So if I want to see what Amar is working on today, and maybe Andrew too, I can actually view all three of those calendars right on top of one another. Now I've chosen to nest those. If I wanted to break those out, obviously I could. So now I can view all three calendars side by side to see when we might be able to have a meeting. Looks like it's going to be pretty tough, but let's try it anyway. So I'm going to do new meeting so that I can collaborate with these folks. Bring this over here. I'm going to put a time in. Let's say it's going to take an hour and a half. And what you'll see over here is that Outlook actually tells me when's the best time for us to have this meeting. So these guys might be folks that work here in the office, or they might be remote. So if I look at my legend here, I see that on the 28th, everybody is available. So if I wanted to go ahead and say, let's meet to talk about the proposal, and I want to make that an online meeting, so I'm going to drop my Lync session in and go ahead and send that out to these guys. Notice again that I see their presence based on their availability inside Lync. So I'm going to press send so we can get that on the calendar. So again, not only do I have the access to my calendar, but I also have access to my team's calendar as well. From a collaboration perspective, this really helps us work faster, better, and quicker. Another nice little feature of Outlook is that because my integration with Lync is so tight, if I want to have an email conversation that I want to push into an instant message, it's pretty easy to do. All I have to do here is press reply, and I'm going to reply all with IM, and it's going to open up my Lync session. Here's what's great. I see immediately who's available to have a conversation about this proposal, and the subject of that email is actually going to come across as well. So I'm going to say, hi guys, let's talk about the proposal. I could spell. So now, very quickly, Graham, Shane, and everybody that's in the sales distribution group is going to get a message that says that we want to talk about the proposal. We'll see if Graham responds here in just a second to tell us whether or not he's available. If I wanted to, I could actually continue open up the email that's associated with this sales proposal directly from inside this link as well. So now Graham and I can talk about what's going on with this proposal. Looks like maybe Shane might be offline. He's our salesperson, so he's probably out playing golf if we're honest. And it looks like Graham's actually working on that proposal now. So I'm going to say, great, I'm going to log into SharePoint and review it. It helps if you spell well. So I'm going to go ahead and close that down now. So when it comes to Outlook, this is probably where 95% of us spend 95% of our day. And with the new version of Outlook 2010, it's really helping us get more done faster. So with that, let's hop on over to Lync for just a moment. So again, with Lync, we can see our presence. We can communicate with folks that are inside our organization or outside our organization. I can quickly see who's online and who's not just by viewing my status. I just want to tell everybody that I'm in a demo, so please don't interrupt me. Now, everybody that's federated with me will see that I'm in the middle of a demo. So it's important to note that with most instant messaging programs, A, there's no integration with your office systems, but B, it's kind of limited to who the folks are that you want to be able to communicate with. That's not the case with Lync. We can federate Lync with other Lync users, with Office communication users, and also with public IM. You can see here that we've chosen to federate our Lync with lots of different folks. You may be wondering, well, what happens to the instant messages? Well, it actually is all saved in your conversation history inside the Outlook window. So any conversations that I've had, I'm actually not going to open up that because it might have some confidential data in it, but any conversations that I've had with anybody around on instant messaging and any Lync sessions or PC to PC calls that I've made will actually be notated there in my conversation history. The great thing about that, if you're using Windows 7 or even Windows Vista, is it actually allows you to do a fast search. So if I know I had a conversation with Graham at some point about a sales proposal, I could actually pull that up, Graham, sales proposal, and Windows 7 is going to search everything inside my desktop that includes the proposal, the word proposal, which will include my Lync conversation history. So again, if we start to think about how do we interact with one another, how do we get the data that we need quickly, it's all there, right there inside Windows Search. Let's go ahead and hop inside SharePoint. So you should be able to see my SharePoint window. And again, I'm working inside our live demo environment. So what you see here is the dashboard that we use to manage our business. And as a small business owner, this is absolutely crucial to me. So I have a real-time dashboard that shows me how is my business performing based on how I choose to measure it. So the great thing about this dashboard is that it's all tied back into Excel. And I bet that everybody on this call is probably tracking data in some way or another via Excel. And if you wanted to turn that into a red light, yellow light, green light dashboard, Office 365 and SharePoint Online gives you the ability to do that out of the box. So no special code has to be written. This works out of the box with Office 365 and with SharePoint. So what you see here, folks, is these are ultimately the folks that we measure utilization on. We're a services business, so utilization is important to us. And so when I log into SharePoint, I get a snapshot view of how is my business performing, by person. So I can see last week's utilization. This is actually Amar, and this is Chris. Those are just the usernames that we use internally. And I can see how is that person performing on an individual level last week as well as last month. Now, clearly, these are just metrics that we've chosen to track inside Excel, but you could track any kind of metrics that you choose to. I want to point out that this is something that is available to everybody inside our business. So we have chosen to publish this to everybody inside our business. This is everybody's home page, and everybody knows how everybody else is doing. This has really helped us manage our business well. The other thing is that if you chose not to do that, SharePoint actually has full security as well. So if you wanted to lock down certain areas of SharePoint so other folks can't see certain activities, whatever the case may be, you can actually take care of all that security through the SharePoint front end. So this is a pretty complex dashboard here. It's a pretty easy dashboard over here. So I want to see how are we doing product sales-wise, services-wise, and overall. It looks like we're hitting our goals product sales-wise. Looks like we might be performing under goal on our services number, but overall it looks like we're doing okay, but probably not great. Now, what's important to note is that these dashboards can be generated off of Excel spreadsheets. They can be generated off of SharePoint lists, or you can actually integrate them in with live databases as well. So when we talk about how Office 365 works the way you work, again, this will allow us to be able to not only use the cloud, but also use our on-premise systems as well. Okay? So I bet a lot of you guys are probably using file shares for sharing documents. Well, what we found with that is, and what I mean by that is you probably have an M drive or a U drive, some kind of shared drive that's sitting on an on-premise server. What we've chosen to do is actually do away with on-premise services and use SharePoint Online for all of our file shares. Why did we choose to do that? Well, ultimately, again, we wanted to have access to our files, folders, and documents from wherever we are. Now remember, as we've talked about, not only is this available through a PC, but it's available through a Mac, available through mobile devices as well. So I don't have to worry about logging into a VPN and making sure I can get into the M drive. More importantly, I don't ever have to worry about backups. All of our documents that are stored in SharePoint Online are actually going to be backed up in Microsoft's data centers. So no more worried about backups. I also don't have to worry about updates. Now, this isn't true just for SharePoint. It's true for all the Office 365 products. Microsoft is taking care of all of the back-end administration for updates, changes, patches, all that kind of stuff that used to keep you up at night. Microsoft's going to manage for you. Also, if you're used to using a traditional file share, you may have experienced a time when somebody has actually dragged and dropped an entire folder inside a folder, right? And then, oh my gosh, we've deleted last month's financials. The truth is they probably weren't deleted. They're just not available through, they're just nested inside another folder. Well, now with Office 365 and with SharePoint Online, that's no longer a concern of ours because all of our documents are posted here on the web. Okay? So we're going to get into document management here in just a little bit more, but we're also going to talk about the other components of SharePoint that help us drive our business. So let's take a look at some of the lists that we have inside SharePoint. So this is our company calendar, and this calendar ultimately helps us stay in sync with what's happening inside our business. So the second Thursday of every month, we have a project status review meeting. We have a weekly sales huddle. Actually, it should be bi-weekly. And we have a services lunch that takes place every Thursday as well. So this calendar is actually available to everybody inside our business, and they can actually post stuff to it as well. Well, I know what you're thinking, and that is, well, that doesn't really do me much good because I might not be right in front of a browser. I might just be working on my Outlook client. Well, what's great about Office 365 is that we can actually connect most of the list directly to our Outlook client as well. So what I've done here is I've actually just clicked a quick button here that allowed me to connect my SharePoint Online calendar to my Outlook calendar. So now, without even logging into SharePoint, I can actually see what's going on inside the SharePoint calendar. I'm going to add a quick item. This is a new item, just to show you that we do have two-way sync. So items that we post inside our Outlook calendar will also sync up to SharePoint Online as well. So it's a true two-way sync. I'm going to go ahead and refresh that page now, and we'll see that that new item is now posted inside SharePoint Online. So coming back to that idea that Office 365 works the way you work. If you choose to work inside the Outlook window, no problem. If you want to work inside the browser, no problem. And ultimately, if you want to switch back and forth between the two, you obviously have the ability to do that. Another kind of simple problem that we've solved is the idea of custom lists. So, you know, we used to have the sticky notes that went around the office. I need more copy paper. Can somebody buy some highlighters? Whatever the case may be. But with Office 365, we actually have the ability to create custom lists. So we solved that silly sticky note problem by just creating a custom list inside SharePoint. And what this allows is anybody inside our business, if they need us to purchase something, can actually request it directly from SharePoint. So for time's sake, I'm just going to show a quick item. I need some highlighters, and I need it by tomorrow. And it's going to be requested by Reed Wilson. Now what we've got that happens is we have a workflow that's written that actually fires an email off to our office manager and lets her know that a new item has been requested. So the idea of workflows is prevalent throughout SharePoint Online. Clearly, we can send emails based on certain actions that take place in list. Another way that we have customers that use this very frequently is through documents. So they might have a workflow set up that requires multiple people to sign off on the document. We can take care of that using a workflow inside SharePoint Online as well. So again, just kind of a silly example, but it's a way that we've kind of cut down on the clutter inside our office to help us keep up with things that we're doing every single day. Let's hop into document libraries here for just a second. So this is the concept that I was speaking of earlier when I said we no longer use any kind of file shares inside our business. All of our documents go to SharePoint Online. So when I look at SharePoint Online, I see some data here. Obviously, these are my folders. I can see when it was modified by, and I can also see the individual that put that folder in. Now again, notice that my presence is there. So if I wanted to see what's going on with Chris, I could do that. I'm going to minimize all that. If I want to start an instant message, again, directly from inside SharePoint, I can see that he's online and available. I can start an instant messaging session with him. Okay? I could even do a PC to PC call. Let's hop into this folder here. So obviously I'm working in Internet Explorer, but it's important to remember that this will work inside any browser, right? So here's that proposal that Graham sent me a note about earlier, the Word document there, the Northwind sales proposal. It's important to note that we can put any kind of files and folders and documents inside SharePoint that we choose. So it doesn't have to be an Office document. It can be a PDF. We have some folks that have put CAD drawings inside SharePoint. Ultimately, it really doesn't matter. Now, there's a couple of exceptions to that. We can't put executables and things like that. But when it comes to documents, photos, things like that, we absolutely have the ability to post those and share those inside SharePoint Online. So let's take a look at this document. So I'm going to go ahead and click through here, and you'll see what happens is Word actually is going to fire in a browser. So while that's loading up, you'll see here I am not in Word yet. I'm actually inside a browser. So I could view this document. Let's say I'm working on my slate, and let's say that slate doesn't have Internet Explorer on it. But I'm getting ready to get on a plane. I don't have time to boot my laptop up, and I just want to take a quick peek at this sales proposal. I could power my slate up, hit my SharePoint site, and through my browser, let's say that happens to be Safari running on that slate, through my browser, I can actually view this Word document. Here's what's killer. All of my formatting, graphics, everything stays intact and is completely viewable through the browser. So, again, Office 365 works the way you work. And if you've ever done any kind of complex formatting in Word or Excel, you know how painful sometimes it can be when perhaps that formatting doesn't come across the right way. Well, you don't have to worry about that with Office Web Apps. So Office Web Apps allows us to view Word documents, Excel documents, even PowerPoint documents, all through a browser. If I chose to edit this document in a browser, I could certainly do that. So I'm going to click the Edit in Browser button here. Oops. I'm going to have to open that up in Word because I did have some special formatting in there for our demo purposes. But I do have the ability to actually work with that document through a browser as well. So now I've opened up this Word document, and I can choose to work on that document by myself, or I can actually have others inside my organization working on that document at the same time. So as I roll through this document, I can see that, again, all of my formatting has remained intact, even though I began to open that document up in Word, in the browser. Now I'm actually opening it up in full Office. Well, it looks like Graham Cobb has just joined us, and he's going to edit this document with us. So again, let's say we've got some remote workers. We might be working on a proposal together, and and it doesn't just support two. It can support a large number of users that are working on the same document at the same time. And I can actually see that Graham is working inside this document. If I wanted to have an instant message conversation with Graham as a result of this, absolutely, again, you'll see that link presence is coming through from document to document. So Graham, let's see if he's going to start editing something. He might here in just a second, but I'm going to go ahead and start to edit some stuff. These are new comments. And what you'll see here is that the portion of the document that I'm actually working on has been blocked off. And on Graham's side, he won't be able to make changes to that portion of the document. I'm going to go ahead and save that, see if we've got Graham making some changes on his side. We may not, but the great thing about Office Web Apps and the ability for co-authoring is it allows multiple people to work in that document at the same time, and it'll actually merge our changes for us. But it doesn't look like Graham's going to be able to help us with this document, so we're going to go ahead and save it, and we're going to close it. Now, again, we start thinking about one version of the truth. We talked about that briefly at the beginning of our presentation. The old way of working with Office files was version 1 or version 2 or version 3 from a naming perspective, right? So if we were going to have multiple people work on a document, what was the old way of doing that? We'd put that document on an email, and we'd say, hey, everybody take a look at this document. They'd all make changes to it, and then they would change the file name, right? Document version 1, document version 2. And now we end up with multiple versions of the truth. Well, with SharePoint Online, we've actually solved that problem by enabling versioning. So multiple people, just as we showed you, can work in that document at the same time. I can see who it was last modified by, obviously, over here on the right, but I've got versioning turned on. So let's take a look at the version history. So now I can see every change that was made for that document over its life cycle. So again, I don't have to worry about modifying file names or sending that out through email. SharePoint is going to manage all of the versioning for us. Now, if when I had checked that document in, I had put comments on it, I would actually see what those comments were. The other nice thing about versioning is that as we're working through versions, if we wanted to, let's say we don't like version 7 and instead we like version 6, all we have to do is just choose version 6 and choose Restore, and it'll actually make version 6 now version 8. Now, I'm not going to do that for the purposes of the demo, but again, all of our versioning is captured each time we save that document. Now, you may be wondering, well, gosh, what if I don't want multiple folks working on the same document at the same time? That's no problem at all as well. I'm not going to work on that one because I think Graham was actually working on that document earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and check this document out. I'm going to use my local drafts folder. What that's going to allow me to do is work in this Word document offline. And it's also going to lock that document so no one else can make changes to it. If other folks want to view that document, obviously they can still view it, but they won't be able to make changes to it. So if you're concerned about, you know what, I really don't want multiple people to be able to edit the document at the same time, then you can certainly check that document out. You also have the flexibility inside SharePoint Online as well to require checkout with each one. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and check that document back in. So again, when we start to think about Office 365, we want to focus on it working around the way that we work every single day. And there's the three main products that do that: Exchange Online, Lync Online, SharePoint Online, and then ultimately the Office on desktop or Office Web App Suite. I'm going to hop back over to the PowerPoint here real quick. All right. So you may be wondering what's next. There's a couple of different things that you can do from an Office 365 perspective. Number one, you can visit our website at www.office365migrations.com, and right there on our web page, you'll see a link for a free trial of Office 365. You can get a free 30-day trial there for Office 365, and that's going to give you, again, all 4 Office 365 features inside that free trial. If you're also interested in a more personalized demo around how we physically use this product, maybe workflows, more in-depth dashboards, you can actually contact us as well for a more in-depth demo around dashboards and workflows. With that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up and offer some Q&A time. I know we have a couple questions that are on hold. Let's see here. So we've got a couple questions around can we have Office 365 in on-premise and online? Absolutely. We certainly can have Office 365 on-premise and online. See a question around what versions of Office are supported? Office 2007 and 2010 are supported. See here, we also have a question of does versioning use your storage quota? Yes, that's a great question. So people want to know how much storage do we have available from Office 365 storage-wise. So it all depends on the number of users that you have, but ultimately you're going to get about 500 megs per user with a 10 gig base. So if you have 10 users, that means you're going to have 15 gigs of storage available to you, but you can purchase extra storage. I think it's about 20 cents per gig now. We have a question from Jonathan. Are the individual plans in Office 365 set in stone, or can you mix and match? Great question. So absolutely. The question is, you can. There are multiple licensing types for Office 365, from the SMB plans all the way up to the enterprise plans, and you can mix and match those. So you can have some users that are just Exchange Online users, you can have some users that are just Lync Online users, or you can have users that use all of the products together. Great question. So we have a question here from Brendan. Is the checking in and checking out process purely used as a signal to show someone else working on a document? If new versions are created every time someone saves the documents in web apps or the actual Office suite, it would seem that way. I want to make sure I understand your question, Brendan, but basically, yes, checking in and checking out does allow you to show who or whether or not someone else is working on a document. You don't have to use the check-in, check-out process. A lot of folks do because it keeps folks from working on the same document at the same time. So, again, that's an optional feature that's available inside the document library. It's certainly not a requirement. See if we have any other questions. If you do have a question, you can pop a question in the right-hand column of your screen there. You can use the chat session there, and we'll see if we can't get your questions answered. There's also the evaluation survey that just came across your chat window. We'd love to get your feedback on how today's demo went and if we were able to answer your questions. If you could just take a couple of minutes, it won't take long at all. It'll help us as we're doing future events to help tailor the content based on who is attending. So again, if you could take just a couple minutes to fill that evaluation form out, that'd be great. Well, I think we've just about, got one more question here. Can multiple users be using Excel at the same time? So absolutely, we do have co-authoring available in Excel as well. It's actually through Excel web apps that we are able to have multiple folks working on Excel. Got another question here from someone that says, how does it work to set a video conference outside the organization? Great question. So video conferencing is available in Lync. Obviously, you just have to have a webcam connected to your laptop or to your desktop. And for someone to join a Lync conference, they don't have to be a Lync user. All they have to do is just either download. There's a small download that can be used off of Microsoft site, or there's also a pure Silverlight version as well that allows you to join Lync sessions. So if you've got the Lync client installed, even if you're not a Lync user necessarily or a license for Lync, you can still join a video conference. Great question there. Let's see here. Matt has a question. How does Office 365 work with desktop Mac? Same features is the question. And absolutely. So Office 365 works with a couple of different versions of Mac for Office. The one that we recommend is Office for Mac 2011. But it does allow you to, have the same type of functionality around calendaring and basically all the functionality is there for Outlook for the Macs, including Lync. So there's a Lync client as well for Outlook. So we've got one more question about Lync. No, a couple more questions. Lync with external users. Can you set appointments if you have Lync and a client has Lync? How do you handle the Active Directory? I got a little lost on that, but can you use Lync with external users? Absolutely. That's how we do all of our internal meetings. So we don't pay for any conferencing. I know several of you might be using some conferencing features that you might have to pay monthly for, might be limited by. We don't pay for those. We just use Lync exclusively for both our internal meetings and our external meetings. So certainly that is an option. Can you talk about some of the core advantages of Office 365 versus Google Apps? I'd love to. So I'll tell you that obviously we're a Microsoft partner, and when we saw what was happening with the cloud early in 2009, we looked at both offerings. And from our perspective, Office 365 allows for the most scalability and usability. So, we know that people want to work the way they want to work, and that might mean they want to work in a browser or they might want to work in the Office client. Office 365 allows you to do that without any plugins, which is phenomenal. I would encourage you to go read the terms of service for both. That can be kind of a fun read, but I think Microsoft's approach to cloud-based collaboration is fundamentally different than any of their competitors. Let's see here. Can we have email addresses that are shared? So you can do aliases inside Office 365. That's no problem at all. We have a question here from someone that says they have 7 people across the U.S. who need to have access and edit Word documents and Excel documents. That's all I really need. Will this product work for you? Absolutely. So as we talked about earlier, Office 365 is really about bringing all of your workers together, whether they be remote or all in the same office. And they could definitely work together and edit those Excel documents and edit those Word documents together. That's certainly a feature of Office 365. And it not just across the U.S. As I said when we started the call, we've got folks really all over the world, Asia, Europe, North America, who are using this product globally. Well, I think that has just about got all of our questions. I do want to remind you one more time that if you're interested in a free trial, you can go to our website, office365migrations.com, and sign up. You can contact us at info@office365migrations.com, and we're occasionally posting data out on Twitter as well, and we would encourage you to follow us online. So with that, I think we're going to close the demo out. We've gotten just about all the questions. Actually, it looks like we've gotten all the questions answered. I want to thank everybody for their time, and we look forward to hearing from you and working with you in the future. Thanks again, and with that, we'll be closing the demo. Have a great day.